So wait, what? How much did you just say? Okay, hold
No,
on.
think about it. Think
So you
about it.
mean to tell me she went, through the process with you to collect the surplus funds, and
Yeah.
there was $170,000.
Yes. Yeah.
How are you all? As you all know, I'm always going live, the closing queen here. I am here with the love. Actually, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to introduce her. I want y'all to bring some people on. You can see the description and everything in the box. I want y'all to share. You all already know. Let me go on my Facebook because Facebook always does me private before. But while I'm going on there, wow, my Facebook is not on private tonight. Wow, amazing. Hello, the closing queen here. I am here with the lovely, let's just get right into it. The lovely, lovely, lovely attorney Olen McLean, and also broker. Am I correct? I'm right.
Correct. With Elijah Abigail Realty, also known as EA Realty.
Yes, with Elijah Abigail Realty, named after her beautiful children.
Yeah.
And we are here. I'm excited to be here with Attorney Olen. Attorney Olen called me, what was that, last week? And she was like, "You're going live?" I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, let me know if you need any help." I said, "Well, why don't we go on live?" She was like, "Oh, okay." So I asked her if she had any topics to talk about. And Attorney Olen said surplus. And Attorney Olen, while we already on and we already jumping into it, let the people know while I get them to share and get them on. Let the people know what surplus is because a lot of us don't know what it is.
Surplus. Surplus, by its very definite definition, is excess funds. And in the case that I'm talking about is in with respect to foreclosure or a tax deed sale or an HOA foreclosure. So right there, you already know that there's different types of foreclosure. So generally what happens when someone loses a property and there's an auction or bidding, if the bid is higher than the amount of the final judgment or any judgment for that to speak, then the excess funds, the surplus, sometimes also called overage, is is what surplus is. And generally the owner is entitled to the surplus. And what most people don't know is that you have to claim it. No one is going to tell you from the tax collector, from uh, the courts, or from the HOA standpoint, or anyone. They're not going to tell you that, hey, you are entitled to this money. So you have to claim it, and then there's other aspects of it that we're going to essentially talk about.
Now, Attorney Olen, I gotta bring this up because I know people are probably like, "Wait, attorney, wait, she's a broker. Hold on, which one? Which?" So even in the realms of surplus, I want you to tell us like how does you being an attorney assist with this process?
Well, okay, so we'll start from the foreclosure standpoint. Well, in the foreclosure standpoint, I try to assist a lot of individuals that do go through foreclosure defense. I've had over 6 years or so as a creditor attorney, meaning I worked for the banks on the bank side for over 6 years before I had my practice. And from that aspect, I was able to see the full foreclosure process. What I have committed to doing is to assisting people to get out of foreclosure and still maintain or retain their home. If they are not able to retain their home, then that's where we also talk about the surplus. But we generally educate them on the different alternatives to foreclosure. So that's from the attorney standpoint on the foreclosure side. The tax deed side, it's a different process. You have different types of individuals that access the properties from the tax deed side. Generally, you find investors who are trying to acquire property through the probate process, which we do handle probate, and that's probate happens to be in the event of someone passing and then the property is still in their name. What we generally do is try to get the property from the deceased person,
Right.
the decedents, in the name of the living heirs And most of the investors who acquire property through the probate process, they generally would have to seek out an attorney to do the probate. And what most people don't realize is if you're trying to obtain surplus and you inherit the property, which we would call an heir property, you still would have to go through the probate process essentially so you can have the right documents to support your claim as an owner.
Okay. That was it. That I actually didn't know that. Like I realized sometimes people always say, "Why is your face looking like?" I'm like, because I'm listening. Like I'm, I'm really listening to the information. I was like, "Huh, really?" Because us ourselves, we're going through a probate process, but it's actually, well, when I say probate, yeah, I think yeah, it is a somewhat of a probate process. But our situation is in the islands, and it's not even with like a, this is with my mother's grandfather. So my great grandfather, is that
Mhm.
right? Yeah, my great grandfather. So which is this whom is deceased. So we're having to go all the way back, get documents, everything. So if y'all need help with the process,
If you get
call
PDF,
Attorney Olen, please, so that she can help you. But Attorney Olen, let me ask you this: why do so many people miss out on surplus funds?
yeah, the main thing is they don't know about it. They don't claim it, and you have to claim it. When I say you have to claim it, you have to fill out the right paperwork to submit it to either, if it's on the tax deed side, you're submitting your paperwork to the tax collector. If it's a foreclosure, you submit your paperwork to the foreclosure court. But if it's a foreclosure, again, it's better to utilize an attorney because you're going to find that you're going to have other people that come out of the woodwork and they're trying to lay claim to those funds too. Because you're not the only person that can lay claim to it. You also have junior lien holders who may have an interest um, in the property, or you have a long lost heir that pops up and want to claim the property, which
Hmm.
in one of my client situations.
I was just about to ask you, have you ever look, me, not to get, down a rabbit trail, but I want to know if you actually ever seen like somebody just pop out the woodwork and is like, I'm taking these funds, and they're like, wait, I didn't even know you existed.
Yes, that was funny because it was one of my very first foreclosure case, which was a long time ago. I don't even know why or how I took this case, but I took it. But what I remembered when I was taking it is, first of all, they were never in the foreclosure, so they had to file an action to interplead, which the court had to approve. And of course, in that case, the court didn't approve it because they really didn't have a leg to stand on and they didn't have any documents to support. In the case I had, my client had a brother that passed away and he left, he had a homestead property. And most people think that homestead property are will actually protect them or their homestead is protected, and it generally is not protected against foreclosure. Um, if you have bills to pay or mortgage to pay, you need to pay it. And in this case, this was a HOA foreclosure, and most people don't think HOAs will foreclose. And
They sure can.
I'm noticing lately a
Them
lot
HOAs something serious.
of
I'm telling y'all, watch them HOAs, because next thing you know, they'll be trying to take your house, honey.
it's the assessments. Most of them have these assessments that pop up that you have to pay in addition to your regular monthly HOA dues, and some people have mortgages on top of that. So you're looking at maybe sometimes a $2,500 or $3,000 um, month monthly payment with those assessments, depending on how long those assessments run. But anyway,
Yeah, trust me, I've seen that. People are like, wait, what? That's why a lot of people nowadays are like, I don't want HOA. I don't want HOA. I'm like, I understand actually. I get it. So let me ask you this. What is the first step someone should take if they think that they are eligible for these surplus funds?
well, what I would say is the good measure is you have to ask if you have been in foreclosure or was in foreclosure within the last 12 months. I would recommend, well, we offer a 30-minute free consult. So if somebody wants to have us, look into, because I can do a quick search. It doesn't take me that long because, like I said, I did foreclosures for over 6 years on the bank side. But anyway, there we would look through the court record and find the information needed to determine if they they did actually have a surplus. If and then the tax deed side, it's different because foreclosure, it's depending on when the sale was, and then you have these 10-day period that you have to wait before the certificate of title is issued, and that's when, and actually it's after the plaintiff actually claims their check. That's when the clerk would actually even put up that surplus amount. But we would look,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
look at look at the court document after the CT is issued on the foreclosure side,
Hmm.
review and see if they qualify for a surplus. And again, it's within the last year. Um, if you
Okay.
don't claim it, the money goes back to, well, it goes to unclaimed funds, and it goes to the state through a process called escheatment.
And
Where,
that's what I was going to ask you. My next question was literally going to be, is there a time limit to this? So it's within a year of the foreclosure or tax auction.
yeah, the best time to do it, usually the owner can lay claim within like the first 60 days or so after the issuance again of the CT. And I generally when I speak, I'll speak with respect to the foreclosure process first.
Mhm.
With respect to the tax deed process,
Mhm.
you can go ahead and lay claim to it, and the process usually takes about like 90 days in that process, and foreclosure is about 60 days. But generally, you can still claim the funds up to about a year before it goes to the state unclaimed.
Unclaimed. Now, this is what I was going to ask you. And this is a little rabbit trail again, but I remember, and forgive me if I don't say the right, the proper terminology, but I saw something one time where you can go in, it's like for the state of Florida, and you put in your last name and I think your social or something like that, and you see unclaimed funds. So is that the same arena or is that something different?
Yeah, it's through the Department of Finance, and it's the Lost and Found Treasury. Yeah, that's a legitimate site. Most people don't think it is. They think it's a scam, but
Oh
it is.
no, I got some.
Go there,
I
Google
told
it.
my dad one time, I said, I just found $100 in your name. And once it gets deposited, just send it right on back to me. Okay.
Yeah, and some of them, well, most of the time they're going to ask you for documentation if you do that, and then
Right.
for some individuals, you can just submit your things right there on the website, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Okay, everything is good. You're going to get your check within 2 weeks or so, two,
Okay.
depending."
Okay. So let me ask you, is it more of a tedious and time consuming process after it's gone to unclaimed funds? Or is it in and around the same process?
Well, generally, if it goes through unclaimed funds, there's a different process for us because you're not actually dealing with the tax collector or the clerk's office. You're actually dealing with the Treasury Department.
Okay.
So it is different. Um,
Okay.
but I know if the funds stay there for 3 years and no one claims it, that's when it is cheat. It's cheat. It's,
So wait. Okay, wait. Let's go into that. So you said 3 years,
it's
and then
3 years. It is cheat. It's cheat. ESPHEAT to the state.
okay, so wait, what is it? You're gonna have to break it down.
Okay. It sounds exactly like what it is. It's weird. Most people usually use the play on language with respect
Uh-huh.
to that word because it's like you're cheating a person out of
Their money.
for them because they're not claiming it. But
Hmm.
is it really cheating? I mean,
Because they didn't claim it.
they didn't claim it. It's like
Right.
when you're praying for something and you got to claim it.
Right.
You
So
don't
so so
get
let
it.
me ask you this.
Mhm.
Well, first, before we get into any more, listen, for those of you that are either just getting on or just tuning in, what have you, whatever, we are talking about surplus funds, funds that maybe I wanted to say maybe surplus, funds that would be excess after a foreclosure or after a tax auction on a home. And so Attorney Olin is here. From McLean Law Firm and then also EA Realty as well. She's an attorney and she's a real estate broker. And so she's giving you knowledge on how to claim these funds. So if you know someone who recently foreclosed on their home, or the home was recently auctioned off, because of taxes, what have you, there may be funds that are left over for them to claim. But of course, no one's going to tell you that the money is there, because why would anybody tell you that the money is there? So Attorney Olin is explaining to us what this is, how this process works, and what it is that you need to do. Um,
I,
so,
I was gonna say I've had some really good success story with these, because what I've done in the past on what I try to do now is depending on the amount that someone has that is qualified or deemed as surplus, we with us having the brokerage, we try to put the individuals back in a home, and we have been successful in doing that. There was an example of a young lady that she lost her property. It was an heir property. So, long story short, she did lose the property. She had about 170 or so in surplus money. We once we knew how much she had, we then
hold on, Attorney Olin.
yes,
How much did you just say?
170.
Hold
$170,000.
on.
What, you thought it was like
No, you
$5,000?
can't just, oh, she had 170. And like, because I'm here, but I be fixing my stuff and making sure people
It
get good.
ranges. Well,
But I'm listening, and I say, wait, what? How much did you just say? Okay, hold
no,
on.
think about
So,
it. Think
so
about
you
it.
mean to tell me she went, through the process with you to collect the surplus funds, and there
Yes,
was $170,000.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
So what
so
happened? I said, hey, it's only you by yourself. Why don't we just look for a place for you? A nice condo, minimal HOA fees, all that, etc. So we did that. We found a really nice place. Then what we did is we got the price down for the individual. Then what we did on top of that is we went ahead and we got her HOA paid in advance through 6 months, because I wanted to make sure she was not in the same situation that she was in.
right.
So we paid for the property for her, and then after we paid for it for her, we then did the closing and then provided her with her excess funds that she had. And so she didn't pay anything for the good 6 months. And then she had the extra money to fix the place or do whatever it is she wants. And, she just basically went from homeless foreclosure to not homeless, because she never
Uh-huh.
touched the, outside, and then she went straight into a house. That was just one example.
So, so you okay? So hold on. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, right? Let me ask you this, right? Okay. What? So are those the usual amounts that you see, like 170, 150, or is
No,
it? Okay, okay. Was
no,
that on the higher end, or was
it's
that?
on the higher end, but it's not uncommon, because especially in the HOA realm, because remember, in the HOA is just seeking their
They're, oh yes, I remember that.
so if
They can't go over the amount that they're owed. Isn't that correct?
yeah, so the amount they're owed once the judgment is entered. For example, if HOA is owed $20,000, right?
Mhm,
And then someone they don't do the proper research, and they don't see that there is a first lien
mhm.
or a bank, a bank on there, first lien holder on there. They'll go bid on the property, and then next thing you know, um, the bid ends up being like, let's say $150,000. You take the 20,000 from the 150, and you have $130,000 surplus. But
Mhm.
the clerk will take out their fees, which is not
Right.
too much, and then you have the surplus money there available for the owner to claim. So as long as that was the owner of record at the time, the owner of record would then claim those funds. The owner of record can then use those funds to do whatever it is. But keep in mind that the individuals have already gone through a really traumatic experience. Most of them tend to be in a state of denial.
Yeah,
They're frustrated, they're scared, they don't understand
they're
how
over it.
position, yeah. And then next thing, yeah. But so that's usually a silver lining for some, because the last one I did, I was like, hey, you do realize you have like $130,000 that are going to come back to you. And the individual is like, really? And I said, yes. Yes, it is. So, we
Mhm.
go ahead, we take our fees out. And usually it's done on a contingency basis.
Right. As long as it's actually closed,
Yeah.
then
And then from there, they get their money. They're very grateful because, of course, they went through a really
right.
trying time. And then next thing they know, they actually have money and they actually can start over.
So, okay, it's two questions that I had. I want to make sure that I remember. Okay. After the 3 years, what was the other question I had? Hold on. I want to make sure I have both of them at the same time. Okay, I
I
got it.
don't know. I will tell you I don't know, and I'll look it up.
No, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So, okay. So after the was it 3 years? 3 years or
3 years.
2 years?
Once it goes to lost and found, yes. 3 years.
Okay.
That's
So
that time.
after those 3 years, then what?
It goes. It goes to the state.
So no one can get it.
Well, sometimes I've seen, well, I haven't personally, but I've heard that sometimes someone would claim, but the question becomes, why did you wait so long? Because think about it. In a foreclosure, it's a little different. And the tax deed side, the tax collector actually gives the individual more than enough time to claim the property. That usually, especially in the state of Florida, we have a process where there's a first year certificate issued for not paying your taxes, right? Then, if someone actually pays for the tax certificate, then you go into a second year. That same person may go ahead and buy the tax certificate because they want to make sure they can go ahead and submit the application. So Florida is a lien state and a tax deed state. So once it goes through the lien process, someone can actually fill out an application. Once they fill out the application, then they go ahead and it goes up for auction. So that individual, even though they bought the liens, they still have to go through the auction process. So once the auction process is finalized, it goes to either the higher bidder or the individual that was paying the liens. They can actually, purchase to preserve their own interests in the property. So once that done is done, and then you actually have a high bidder or an individual that pays, the bids on the auction, then that's when we'll find out what the actual surplus is. You just take the difference between how much the high bidder was from the judgment amount that's due, or the taxes that's due, I should say.
And so just to make sure that I clear this up for my viewers, right? Because I know somebody's going to ask this question. If there is a home that is foreclosed on and someone
Which
purchases,
foreclosure?
huh?
Which process? HOA, bank, or the
Um, let's say any. You tell me the difference. So, and I say that when I get to the end of my question, you'll know why I said that. So let's say someone purchases the home, right? Are Because they are now the owner of record, are they entitled to any surplus funds from previously, or does it not work like that?
no. You're talking about the person who's a third party high bidder?
Sure, yeah, or someone like takes the home or whatever. I know
So,
somebody's gonna ask this question, so
no,
listen, because let me tell you about my viewers,
owner of
right?
record at the time of the filing of the list pendants. The list
Okay,
pendants is like a lien.
okay, because I was gonna say, let me tell you something about some of my viewers. They're a little slick. They're gonna be like, so if I get the home, then I
Yeah.
can take the surplus money.
Remember, in the legal realm, there's always a definition to something. So you have to look it up to see what they consider as the owner of record.
Oh, okay,
And
okay,
that's actually how we usually end up, laying claim to those funds for a majority of individuals. So yeah.
right,
On the
okay,
lead side, they always ask you for certain documents that you have to provide to them.
okay,
Proof, yeah.
okay, okay. Um, last few questions. Last few questions. What are some documents that people might need for this process? Like if they're thinking like, okay, I need to call Attorney Olin and do this. Like, what are some things that they would need to think about having?
With starting it, or oh, well, basically, you just provide the name, the address of the property for one, because we have ways of getting the deed, so that we can look at the deed to see how the title is held. And
Hmm.
from there, once the surplus is actually calculated, then you would need copy of your driver's license, anything essentially with the address of the property to show that you reside there, but you
Right.
also have to show your ownership. And I've mentioned probate. You'd need a probate order either from a summary administration or from a formal administration, or I've even we've even used some insurance documents um, uh, to show support as well. Yeah.
Okay. And I know some of you all might just be getting on what have you, but in regards to claiming for a deceased relative, you are able to do that. You just might have to go through probate. Am I saying that right, Attorney Olin?
Yeah, it could be a summary administration, especially if it's in the name of the deceased person. Yes.
Okay. Well, I did have one more question, but you actually already answered it at the beginning. I was going to ask if you had any like success story or anything like that, but I think that the woman who got the what was it, 150 or
We've
170?
had 170, we've had 110, we've had 70. Yeah, they're usually higher. I try to, because especially if they're higher, I try to get the clients to realize, hey, that money is yours and you should be getting it within we usually try to do it in 30 days because they're usually in dire need for funds, but it usually always end up being around the 60-day mark. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the fact that that is even possible is crazy. One thing that I always say is that it's not about the resources that we have, really, it's about the knowledge that we have. Because a lot of people, especially in the Black and Brown community, think that they don't have access to certain things. But really and truly, watching, videos like this, there have been times I've watched certain videos. I make sure to watch things that always, educate me and give me something new for the day, because you never know what piece of information can give you what you need. Some people say, well, I can't do that, or that's not available to me. But really and truly, it's just about having the knowledge. And so I appreciate you even bringing this up, and sharing it, for you all that are on, that are watching, that are going to rewatch, what have you, watch the replay. I want you to get in contact with Attorney Olin. Hold on, let me put your information up here, Attorney Olin. Attorney Olin, you have a website?
Yes, McLeanLawFL.com for the law firm.
McLeanLawFL.com.
.com.
Okay, and what's your email?
Olen, Olen, at McLeanLaw,
Dot com.
LAWFL.com.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna put it up real quick. Uh-oh. Hold on. Putting up the wrong thing. Putting up the wrong thing again. There we go. There we go. I
OL,
want you all to contact Attorney Olin,
OL,
sincerely, because if you do not know what to do, or if you know anybody that has been through this process, whether it's a tax auction, whether it's the foreclosure, whatever it is, and obviously not only this, because she is an attorney, so she can help you out with whatever. But I truly want you all to contact her, send her an email, find her on her website, whatever.
Leanne, it's www.mcleanlawfl.com,
Oh, wait.
and
Hold
then
on.
OLEN at McLeanLawFL.com.
L.
You
Say
have it right in the email, McLeanLawFL.com. That's the domain name.
Okay, hold on. Okay, did I get it? Oh, nope. I made a mistake again. Hold on. This is too funny. Okay, boom.
No E.
What about
Yeah.
now?
So, and then my
There
name,
we go.
no, my name,
Oh,
OL,
I put Olen. Ah,
Olen.
what is going on with me?
That's okay.
Is it Olan or Olen?
Olen.
Okay, y'all scratch that from before.
Mhm. Yeah, that's correct.
Listen, I was laughing because I pulled up the website and I said, why does it say cleaning? I'm
But
like, I think I did it wrong. And then right when I was like, I think I did it wrong, you said, it's not right. Hold
McLean.
on. Before we go, I want you all to see her site. Hold on. Let me get it up so
That's the
everybody.
law firm, and then we have EA Realty, which is being updated.
So this is Attorney Olen's site. You can call, you can send an email. Hold on. Tell me about the EA Realty. What's that website?
EA Realty
Mm-hmm.
Invest.com.
Okay, hold on.
That one's undergoing some changes, but it's still, still.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so wait. Request a consultation. Y'all go on the site and request your consultation here.
Mhm.
Okay, Attorney Olen is right here in Palm Beach County, so I don't want to hear any excuses from any of you all that you can't find her. And if you can't find her, then just contact me. And then this is her real estate website, EA Realty Invest.com. Okay, well, everybody, if you have any questions, anything, y'all know what to do. Comment under the video, share this with someone. This is some really good information. I want you all to make sure that you take heed to this. Remember, I'm thinking that Mondays are going to be my new live times because Mondays seem to be really good for me. So I want you all to meet me here every Monday. I'll be talking about real estate, maybe sometimes something a little business. If y'all catch my lives during the middle of the week, I'm talking about something. So I want you all to make sure that you share this with someone. Attorney Olen, I appreciate you immensely.
Thank you
And
so much for having me.
hopefully we get some folks sending you some emails because they need to get their money,
Yes,
right?
they
Attorney
need
Olen?
to do that. We
Okay,
don't
y'all.
need
I
the
ain't
state
gonna act
take anybody of anyone else's funds. Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.